News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Okay, Donald J. Trump giving a speech, and what I like about it, and you'll hear it, and we're going to comment on it, etc. Actually, I'll reserve my comments on it until afterwards, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, if anything, and then this is a major decision. Trump cannot be taken off the ballot in Colorado, Illinois, or where was that? Maine, I think. So those decisions are done. He will stay on every ballot in this country. He gave a speech, and it's pretty amazing what is happening today around our political world and the presidential race. Let's play that speech right now. We'll pause for breaks. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Here we go. Donald Trump's speech today after the victory in Colorado case trying to remove him from the ballot from the U.S. Supreme Court.
In the Supreme Court for its unanimous decision today. It was a very important decision. We're very well crafted, and I think it will go a long way toward bringing our country together, which our country needs. And they worked long, they worked hard, and frankly, they worked very quickly on something that will be spoken about 100 years from now and 200 years from now. Extremely important. Essentially, you cannot take somebody out of a race because an opponent would like to have it that way. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's the leading candidate, whether it was the leading candidate or a candidate that was well down on the totem pole. You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that, and the Supreme Court saw that very well. And I really do believe that will be a unifying factor, because while most states were thrilled to have me, there were some that didn't, and they didn't want that for political reasons. They didn't want that because of poll numbers, because the poll numbers are very good. We're beating President Biden in almost every poll. New York Times came out yesterday with a very big poll for us. So they didn't like that, and you can't do that. You can't do what they tried to do. And hopefully Colorado, as an example, will unify. I know there's tremendous support. They brought our support up very strong in Colorado, because people in Colorado thought that was a terrible thing that they did. And while we're on the subject, and another thing that will be coming up very soon will be immunity for a president, and not immunity for me, but for any president. If a president doesn't have full immunity, you really don't have a president, because nobody that is serving in that office will have the courage to make, in many cases, what would be the right decision, or it could be the wrong decision. It could be, in some cases, the wrong decision, but they have to make decisions, and they have to make them free of all terror that can be rained upon them when they leave office, or even before they leave office. And some decisions are very tough. I can tell you that as a president, that some decisions to make are very tough. I took out ISIS, and I took out some very big people from the standpoint of a different part of the world. Two of the leading terrorists, probably the two leading terrorists ever that we've ever seen in this world. And those are big decisions. I don't want to be prosecuted for it. Another president wouldn't want to be prosecuted for it. It had a tremendously positive impact. It stopped everything cold. And sometimes you have to make, they were tough decisions. Sometimes you have to make decisions like that. When you make a decision, you don't want to have your opposing party or opponent, or even somebody that just thinks you're wrong, bring a criminal suit against you, or any kind of a suit when you leave office. I have that right now at a level that nobody's ever seen before. I have rogue prosecutors, and I have rogue judges. I have judges that are out of control. And it's a very unfair thing for me, but serving perhaps as a sample to others of what should not be happening when you make good decisions. And in my case, the economy was great. We didn't go into any wars. We totally defeated ISIS. We provided the largest tax cuts in history. We provided the largest regulation cuts in history. But think of it, no wars. We beat ISIS 100% of the caliphate. Then there were no wars. We did a job that was great, but maybe I wouldn't have done that. The caliphate, defeating them, was very powerful. It was going to take 4 years. It took me 4 months, but it was a very strong dictum that I gave. I said, get him, defeat him, end it. We were fighting for 20 years against ISIS, and we did it very quickly. I don't want to be prosecuted. In that case, it worked out very well. There will be some things that perhaps don't work out so well, but I don't want to be prosecuted because I decided to do something that is very much for the good of the country and actually for the good of the world. A president shouldn't have that on his mind, and he has to have a free and clear mind when he makes very big decisions. Or it's going to be nothing more than a ceremonial post. You'll be president, it'll be a wonderful thing, and you won't do anything because you don't want to be hit by your opponent or hit by somebody else, because who wants to leave office and go through what I've gone through? I'm being prosecuted by Biden, my opponent, because every one of these things, whether it's Fannie Willis or Bragg, these are local and state, but they're in total coordination with the White House. You can't do that. It shouldn't be done. I mean, a thing like that, in the case of the DA's office, they put one of the top people, maybe the second person, in the Manhattan DA's office to get Trump. They had a Hillary Clinton lawyer leave the law firm, very prestigious big law firm, leave the law firm to go into the DA's office to get Trump, Pomerantz, Mr. Pomerantz. So he goes in to become a prosecutor, worked for the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton, goes in to prosecute Donald Trump at a local level, in total coordination with the Department of Justice, meaning Biden. And then you have the Fannie Willis, or as she would say, Fani, F-A-N-I, but Fani. And she hired somebody, knew the person long before this horrible prosecution took place, and she went out and she paid him an unbelievable amount of money, more money than he ever had dreamt possible, much more money than other people that do that for a living. He never did it at all, had no experience in it at all. And they had obviously a conflict. We don't have to go into that, but they were able to get a lot of money because it was a high-profile person. Me, I'm a very high-profile person. So they were able to pay him close to $1 million when he was not equipped to do the job, and she's not equipped to do the job, and that case should end immediately. That case is so conflicted, nobody...
So we're going to pause right there. It's Donald J. Trump, his victorious speech today after the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that Colorado, Maine, Illinois, none of them, and no other state can try to remove him from the ballot for this BS crap about saying insurrection when he did no insurrection. Yevgeny Prigozhin did an insurrection against Putin and tried and killed 8 of his soldiers and was marching on to Moscow and shot helicopters and a jet out of the sky. That's an insurrection, not this crap, and they know it. We're going to have the rest of President Donald J. Trump's speech, former president, and I have so much to say about this, and I know you do. I'm going to analyze it and want to hear from you and your thoughts, too, coming up next. But we're going to play the rest of his speech and a little bit of Q&A after it today. It was fantastic from Mar-a-Lago. I am proud of this man. And I think Joe Biden is truly scared today, and I really, really mean it, and the Democrats, and they have reason to be. Stay tuned for part 2 of the speech next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, Chris Crock Show. All right, we're in the middle on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. We're in the middle of the Donald J. Trump speech, his victory speech after the Supreme Court struck down the Colorado, Maine, Illinois, all those decisions thrown in the garbage. No state can take him from the ballot because of a lie about what happened on January 6th. Let's continue with Trump's speech. I cannot wait to tell you my thoughts. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. We're going to be taking your call live. If you want to jump on now to be the first person in line, lines are wide open at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Let's go back to the rest of President Donald J. Trump's speech today and some Q&A after his press conference after the victory over Colorado at the Supreme Court.
Who's ever seen anything like it? And then you have deranged Jack Smith, who's a Trump hater and represents all the Trump haters, and he's going wild. He's just a wild man. He's been overturned unanimously by the Supreme Court. Went after other people over the years. He's had great failure, but he's mean, he's nasty, he's unfair, and the judges on these cases, they're all Trump haters, other than we have maybe 1 or 2 that I think can be fair. But you look at New York, what's happened. I mean, these people have tremendous hatred. You can't do this to a president. And again, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about in the future. A president has to be free. A president has to be, if the president does a good job, I did. Some people would say a great job. But if the president does a good job, a president should be free and clear and frankly celebrated for having done a good job. Not indicted 4 times and not gone after on a civil basis and not demanded to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in fines on something that was absolutely perfect, where there were no victims, where the financial statements were absolutely flawless, where you have disclaimer clauses. I mean, nobody's ever had a thing like this. I wasn't given a jury, and I had a clubhouse judge just come up with this number on a perfect loan and very conservative financial statements. But even at that, if you look, the disclaimer says don't rely on the financial statements in any way, shape, or form. Go out and do your own work. The bank in question had the most sophisticated lawyers in the world, frankly, one of the top law firms anywhere in the country, and they can defend themselves. What guys like Bragg and Letitia James and Fani and deranged Jack Smith, what they should be doing is fighting violent crime. And that would lead me to the end. I will say that President Biden, number one, stop weaponization. Fight your fight yourself. Don't use prosecutors and judges to go after your opponent, to try and damage your opponent so you can win an election. Our country is much bigger than that. The other thing I say to President Biden, close the borders now. This is not sustainable for our country. It's not sustainable for our cities. Our country is under siege. This is a violent thing that you've done. And many people are dying. Many people are dying. They die on the trip up. They die going through the border. And they die in our country. But many of the people coming up are from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. Many are terrorists. You see it. Many are terrorists. And I believe the real number that we have right now is probably closer to 15 million people. And by the time the term ends, I believe the president's term ends, I believe you'll be at close to 20 million people. That's almost larger than any state in the union. Our country, it is not sustainable. Many of these people are tough. Many of these people are bad. They come from some of the roughest countries in the world and some of the roughest prisons. We have prisons in the Congo, in Africa, coming. We have people coming from all parts of the Middle East. They're coming from Yemen, and yet we're bombing Yemen. You have to stop. You have to close the border. You have absolute authorization. You don't need Congress. I had the safest border in the history of our country. And I didn't use Congress for it. And then I built hundreds of miles of wall. And the reason I built it and how I built it was I considered it an invasion of our country. And I took the money from the military. And the Army Corps of Engineers did it with me. And we did a great job. And we had the safest border we've ever had. And now we have the most unsafe border anywhere in the world at any time. There's never been a border like this at any country, anywhere in the world. They would have fought with sticks and stones to stop the horrible situation that's occurring. Our people can't stand it, and the people coming in really can't stand it because they're dying. Many are dying on the trip up, and they're dying in the country. And also, many of the people are criminals, and they're doing tremendous harm. I call it migrant crime. It's migrant crime. It's a new category of crime. They're hurting our country horribly. And we've become a laughing stock all over the world. So I say respectfully to President Biden, you have the authorization right now. I did it. I didn't go to Congress and say, do I have the right to close? I fought Congress on it. Close the borders. You can do it right now. You have everything. Use my policies. My policies were great. Everybody said it. Use my policies. So just to finish, I have great respect for the Supreme Court. And I want to just thank them for working so quickly and so diligently and so brilliantly. And again, this is a unifying factor. Everybody now is together, and they can go after me As a politician, they can go after me with votes, but they're not going to go after me with that kind of lawsuit that takes somebody out of a race who's leading in this case, but even if the person wasn't leading. And I want to thank you all for being here. Do we have...
All right, thank you. That's President Trump in his victory speech this afternoon after the Supreme Court unanimously said, no, you can't take a president off the ballot because you don't like what he did on January 6th. It's ridiculous. He has never been convicted of an insurrection, of doing an insurrection. There's no allegations he has. Jack Smith hasn't filed any charges in that, and he certainly could if he wanted to, but they're not because they can't prove it because there was none, and we all know it. Now, the big thing is how did President Trump do in his speech? Was it convincing? Was it good? Was it presidential? Was it powerful? And man, I can't wait to tell you everything I think coming up next. But also you, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this speech? How did it go? Did you like it? And I want to ask you too, do you feel the Supreme Court made the right decision today to keep Trump on the ballot? Do you think this decision will be looked at as just by most Americans? Is this decision going to be looked at as just by most Americans? And do you think this decision will help Trump's chances in getting reelected this fall by showing how wrong all these cases are against him? I want to hear from you right now. Lines wide open. You'll be popped out of the box next on News Talk 820 WBAP. And now on FM at 93.3, Chris Crock Show. Okay, y'all, the Trump speech that you just heard. What did you think? Did you like it? And then more importantly, now that we have the full information, the U.S. Supreme Court 9-0 saying, no, you can't kick a president off the ballot because you make up some BS insurrection thing that never happened. Absolutely not. So, you can't do bubblegum lawyering, particularly with idiots like the Colorado Secretary of State who's not a lawyer. And a judge in Illinois whose previous job was being a traffic ticket judge. I mean, this is funny. Actually, it would be funny if it wasn't so scary to try to do this. Donald Trump was amazing today when he gave his speech. You know why? I'm not saying he's finally learned his lesson with how to be, but he wants to win more than anything. And he doesn't want to lose by a close margin or win by a close margin. He wants to win and win it solidly. So there's no doubt about any of this garbage that's going to happen in this election, no matter what they throw at him, no matter how rigged it is. And it's rigged at every angle and then some by 1,000%. It's insanity. These people are debasing themselves and making themselves, beclowning themselves, making themselves look like just horribly blind and sycophants, Trump haters, who are convinced that they got to make up anything they can, they believe it, throw anything at the wall and believe it, and get excited about it, like the left has. We'll play some montages of that in a minute. But I want to ask you about this. How do you think Trump's speech went? Did you like it? And more importantly, are these other questions as well. Do you feel the Supreme Court made the right decision today to keep Trump on the ballot? Do you think the decision will be looked at as just by most Americans? And do you think this decision will help Trump's chances in getting reelected this fall by showing how wrong all of these cases are against them? I do, and boy do I ever. At 800-288-WBAP is our number. I'd like to hear from you. Lines wide open. 800-288-9227. Do you feel the Supreme Court made the right decision today to keep Trump on the ballot? Do you think this decision was going to be looked at by just by most Americans? And do you think this decision will help Trump's chances in getting reelected this fall by showing how wrong all these cases are? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. I thought the speech was fantastic. I thought that his reaction was fantastic. I thought that he was calm. He didn't get mad. He didn't call names. And in fact, the most powerful thing he did today was 4 words in a simple sentence. It was a command to Joe Biden. It was a suggestion. Fight for yourself, Joe. Fight for yourself. He didn't even say the word Joe, the name Joe. He just said, quote, I will say that President Biden, number one, stop weaponization. And then the most powerful line of the whole speech to me was to the president, Joe Biden. Fight your fight yourself. Fight your fight yourself. In other words, be a man. You know what I found out today? And you could say, how dare you, or how foolish are you, how stupid are you? You know what I found out today? I fully realized today how afraid Joe Biden is of Donald Trump. He's afraid. And he's not a little bit afraid. He's very afraid. He does not think that he can beat Donald Trump one-on-one. He doesn't. He's afraid to face Donald Trump one-on-one. He's afraid to actually go to a legitimate election one-on-one with him. He's afraid to debate him. He's afraid that he cannot win on the facts because he knows he can't win on the facts. He knows the results from Trump to him are just amazingly different. So Joe Biden is literally afraid. That's like the only thing. If I could just tell you one thing all day and that you will remember from tonight, it's this: Joe Biden's afraid. He literally is afraid. And it hit me personally today. The way Trump delivered this in a calm manner and by telling Joe Biden, quote, fight your fight yourself. That was amazing to me. That's a man calling out another man. Hey, and he wasn't even angry about it. He's like, fight your fight for yourself. He gave him calm advice. That was so powerful to me. I was like, holy crap, they're afraid of him. I think that Joe Biden personally, on a one-on-one, is afraid of Trump. I think he will never debate Trump from this point further because he's too far gone now as far as his mental faculties. So I want to hear from you right now. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Four lines open. Let's go to Colorado. Justin, where your state was struck down by the Supreme Court unanimously. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hello, Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I told the screener, my question is, now that this is the ruling, I'm questioning all the states and the people that were involved in trying to get Trump off the ballot. I want to know if they're going to be brought up on charges of interference with an election.
Are they going to be charged with election interference? I don't think so because, I think, I don't know what you'd be proven. I'm not an election lawyer and stuff, but I would think that you would probably need evidence showing that it was election interference, showing that they conspired to do this, knowing it would never be legal. It wouldn't pass muster.
And my only, and I'm just putting that out for the sake of argument. My point is that they accused Trump of just as much of nothing as you just stated. That legally they had no ground to stand on, and they tried to take him off the ballots and keep the people from making their selects on who they wanted. And that I was just showing the hypocrisy of what they were doing. They're trying to keep Trump off the ballot on these flimsy, thoughts and using a rule against them that had no merit. And I was just making the hypocrisy.
Do you think since you live in Colorado, calling me tonight from there right now, do you think that I know that Colorado's a Democrat state, unfortunately, pretty much a blue state, unequivocally, from what I can see. Do you think that the majority of Coloradans actually thought this was a just decision by this, that your state pulling Trump off the ballot was a just decision?
I don't think so. I think if you get away from the blue cities, and it's a joke here in Colorado, Boulder and the state of Denver, they're really the ones that make the decisions. Where I live, the majority of the people didn't find it to be fair at all that somebody could come in and make the decision on who they were going to get the vote for. And so, no, I don't believe that. But unfortunately, just like in every big city in the U.S., it's Democrat controlled, and that's unfortunately who ultimately makes those decisions. But the people the community I live in, I don't see that as being the case. And there are liberal mindsets that are in the community I live in, and I think they share the same sentiment that, if Trump was good enough to win, then put him on the ballot. If he's good enough, if he loses, fairly. And so I think it was just a failed.
Last quick question for you, Justin, before I let you go. Do you actually think Joe Biden's afraid of facing Trump one-on-one, fair and square?
Absolutely. I think he has no plan, and I think he just follows a script, and I think he's done that his entire presidency.
Appreciate your call, my friend. We got lines wide open for you right now. Tell me this. Do you think Joe Biden is afraid of facing Trump one-on-one, fair and square? I think that Donald Trump is corn pop 2024. I think that Joe Biden thinks that Donald J. Trump is like corn pop, a bad dude, and that Joe can't defeat him one-on-one. I think that Joe Biden is afraid of facing Donald J. Trump. And today I was convinced of that when Trump just powerfully and simply and gently said, fight your fight for yourself. Hey, without saying it in a crude way, he said, be a man. Come on, fight yourself. Let's go, you and me. So do you think Joe's afraid of facing Trump one-on-one in 2024? And do you think or in November, and do you think the Democrats are actually afraid of facing Trump one-on-one with Biden fair and square? And do you think all these attempts to knock Trump out of the race are all redounding to the benefit of Trump? I think today America sees that the Democrats and the Biden DOJ are literally trying to interfere with an election, as Trump has said. I truly believe it unequivocally today. And I believe the Democrats and the media and Joe Biden are absolutely personally afraid of Trump because they know he will beat Biden if it's fair and square. And are all these attempts to knock him off, as I now believe today, redounding to the benefit of Trump? This is going to bring his polling up even higher and get more moderates and middle-of-the-roaders say, yes, I want this. I want better jobs. I want better low inflation, low gas prices, low energy prices, low heating and cooling bills. I want lower car prices. I want lower insurance costs. And I want my dang 401k, my IRA and everything to shoot up and my bank account to shoot up like it did under Trump. Let's go. I think that's the case. Your call next. We have lines wide open, 800-288-WBAP on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset.
Decision ruling that Donald Trump can be on the ballot in Colorado and other states.
I'm not confident that will produce a result that's good for American democracy.
This is actually what I had been concerned about. I had been concerned that should it go to the Supreme Court, they would rule this way.
I'd laugh if it weren't so sad.
My next guest says Donald Trump is still an oath-breaking insurrectionist. Do you have confidence in the Supreme Court? Do you think this court is partisan?
The court itself may have overstepped.
The court went way further than it needed to go.
Our colleague Melissa Murray has called this Supreme Court the YOLO court.
The criticism of the court is that they're playing interference.
Not since Bush v. Gore have we seen a court that's had this many opportunities to interfere in the election.
The headline here is that this is a unanimous ruling, but if you scratch the surface just a little...
This is a 5-4 ruling on part of it.
This is actually a 5-4 decision.
It's blah, 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 blah. You can convince yourself whatever you want. 3 lines are now open. Hurry up before it fills up all the way. Couple questions for you. Do you feel the Supreme Court made the right decision today to keep Trump on the ballot? Do you think this decision will be looked at as just by most Americans? Do you think this decision will help Trump's chances of getting reelected this fall by showing folks how wrong all these cases are? I actually think that this will actually really redound to Trump's favor. I want to add these other questions that I threw in the last segment. These are the most important ones. Forgive me for throwing too many at you. Do you think Biden's afraid of facing Trump one-on-one, as I do? Do you think Biden's afraid of facing Trump one-on-one, as I do, fair and square? I think Trump is the corn pop of 2024. And do you think the Dems are afraid of facing Trump one-on-one, fair and square, as I do? And last, are all of these attempts to knock Trump out of the race all redounding his benefit? I think this literally is putting him over the edge to win in a bigger margin. And do you think Trump would win the election if it was today? Think that means Trump's going to win in November? We got to be careful. Don't keep the blinders on like the left has. 2 4 weeks doesn't in 2 or 4 weeks it's a whole nother universe in political realm. All right, 3 lines open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227 on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Let's go first to Tony in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hello, Tony. Hello.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. I really wanted to answer the one question. I know you give several questions there, but the one about Joe Biden being scared of up against an election against Donald Trump and then the actual Democrat Party being scared is 100%, because Donald Trump actually has a movement behind him where Joe Biden has nothing, nor the Democrat Party.
Well, he does have something. He has the DOJ, he has the court system, and the FBI, the CIA, the media, has the entire media except for a handful of media outlets.
I agree he has all that, but I also agree that the American people are starting to see this. It's coming to light every single day with everything that's gone on with him, with all the indictments against him that have all they're just fizzling out. Everything is.
I got to tell you though, I do think as of today, I really think Biden is actually afraid. He really is afraid. He's going to lose the one thing he thinks he can do. He's going to lose that, and he knows it now. Go ahead.
Right, he's absolutely afraid, without a doubt. Like I said, that Donald Trump has an actual movement behind him, and that's
Tony,
enough.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. Ann and Joshua, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Ann.
Hey, I have the answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Here it goes. All right. Yes, I'm doing the two afraid ones like Tony did. Yes, they're afraid. He's afraid, and the Democratic Party's afraid. And the main reason, yes, I understand Tony said the movement. Yes, there's a movement, but there was a movement last time.
Right.
So what? Well, I hear. See if you're going the same place I'm going on this. Okay, they are scared. The reason they enacted or what are we going to call it? These lawsuits, all of them. You know, he's behind every one of them. Okay, well, they had to come up with something. They used their ace in the hole last time. The bringing in ballots, wagging in the boxes. I mean, people that can say all they want to about,
yes.
No, they did, and we all know they did. They know they did.
Well, I think the biggest impact was the media and the Biden DOJ and the CIA, all with the Hunter Biden laptop, rigging it through the social media to hide everything. That was massive. I appreciate your call, Ann, very, very much, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah, okay, well, you know what I'm going to say then. They had to do all this time. That was the second part of my question.
Say it again. Your second part was what? I apologize.
You're exactly right. Okay, go ahead. Never mind. Bye-bye.
Oh, you had a second part you had, then I'll let you go.
No, that was it. They did all that, what you said, too. The hiding the laptop deal and all that. Yes, and the media helped. All of that got it for him last time.
They're all being handed their butts to them, their A-words to them today, because they're realizing they're going to have to do this fair and square, and they can't, and they know it. Everybody knows it. And Joe Biden is terrified today, I swear to you, because he's all about his pride. And you need me. I'm the only one that could beat Trump, and it's too late to put somebody else, and if they do, it's not going to happen. The Democrats are going to go nuts over firing the first black vice president. Kamala! This is amazing. What a pickle he's in. Next, we're going to talk to a spokesperson with the Public Interest Legal Foundation. They filed an amicus brief, same thing, a friend of the court brief against in the Supreme Court decision today. We'll hear what their thoughts are on where this is going, etc. All that next. Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.